Content warning. This podcast episode contains discussions of a sensitive nature that may be triggering for some individuals.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Diary of a Kidney Warrior podcast in partnership with Kidney Care UK, sharing faith, knowledge, hope, and love.
Hi, and welcome to Diary of a Kidney Warrior podcast. My name is Dee Moore, and I am a kidney warrior. This podcast is dedicated to encourage, educate, and inspire as we explore all aspects of kidney disease, related chronic illnesses, and health. In today's episode, I am bringing you a kidney warrior story. Now, there's always something you can learn from someone's story, something that can bring inspiration and hope. Today, I'm joined by Steve Light, known as SLART in the art world. Steve's journey shows how creativity can become both a lifeline and a voice. After years in web design and living with chronic kidney disease, Steve returned to art at a moment of crisis and never looked back. Now living with a transplant from his brother, he creates raw, powerful work about illness, identity, and resilience. This is a story of strength, setbacks, and the healing power of creativity. Hi, and welcome to Diary of a Kidney Warrior podcast. How are you doing today, Steve?
Yeah, I'm doing really well, thanks.
Welcome to the podcast. Everyone knows what I'm going to say because I say it every time, but I do sincerely mean it. When I say that, I really love recording Kidney Warrior story interviews because why? It is so powerful to learn from someone's lived experience with CKD. And I'm doubly excited because today I'm interviewing a fellow creative. And as a creative myself, it's always good because we've got this kind of connection in terms of how much enjoyment and passion that we have for creativity. So yes, I'm looking forward to also talking about that side of your story as well. So without further ado, I'm going to ask my first question. And my first question is, how did your kidney warrior journey begin and how were you diagnosed?
So it all came out of the blue, like a lot of stories begin, because there's usually not really any symptoms for kidney failure unless it gets to a later stage. So it was I think it was about 2002, 2003 time. I had a random blood pressure check and it was slightly high, nothing too untoward, but the doctor said to have a cholesterol test. And along with that, the results come back and they said, oh, your kidneys are working 30%. And I was like, what? What's going on? So yeah, it freaked me out. I didn't have any symptoms at all. So I was like, what? How did this happen? What's going on? But they couldn't do a biopsy because my kidneys have shrunk so much. They couldn't do the biopsy. So I've never ever known what happened because I haven't had a history of this in family or anything. So as a young lad, I just carried on with life as normal, did the normal things. I wasn't told to restrict anything. So I carried on like going out as people did back then, more so going out nights out at weekends, drinking beer and all that and having a good time. And, you know, I didn't feel any symptoms. And then I think it was about 6-7 years later, still no symptoms, but I got a call. It's funny how you remember exactly where you were. So I was at like around Portobello Road area with a couple of friends and I think it was on firework night and got a phone call from the hospital and they said, your kidney function is severely reduced. You need to come in and have dialysis now. So we need to put a line into you, which is like an access into your vein to perform dialysis.
So you get this news that you're starting dialysis, but to rewind slightly, when you were told that your kidneys were at 30%, didn't anyone tell you or explain to you what this meant, that it was actually kidney disease and that there was danger of it progressing? Did no one tell you anything like that?
I don't recall. No, I didn't know anything about dialysis then. They didn't say in the future you'll have to go on dialysis. Not that I remember anyway. That would have stood out in my mind. But they said it was some kind of kidney disease, but I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know what caused it or what would happen. I think they said it could have been a possible transplant in future or something, but I don't recall any mention of dialysis back then.
So when you got the call for dialysis, did you understand what dialysis meant, what it was?
I think I did by that point because I was having regular blood tests, and then it was probably a year before that they said that this will be coming up at some point. So it wasn't a total shock when I got the call about dialysis then. So I was a bit more informed. But yeah, still a shock.
Getting that shock of dialysis and then being told that you were going to have a line fitted, did you understand what the line was? Did they explain that ahead of time, or was having a line fitted a shock as well?
I think that was probably a shock. Yeah, I didn't know the ins and outs of how dialysis would be performed. And as I was thinking about that, I remember I actually opted in for peritoneal dialysis just before that. And I had the tubes put in my abdomen and everything. And then that got infected, and then I didn't end up doing it, which was all very stressful. So then I decided to go on haemodialysis instead. I think it was the whole thing of it getting infected put me off, and having a tube in my stomach all the time seemed more intrusive than having a line for haemodialysis.
So how was the process of starting haemodialysis?
It was very strange because I didn't have any symptoms, so I didn't feel any better after having it. So I started off in Royal London Hospital until they found me a permanent place. So I was just hooked up to the machine and I didn't feel any symptoms. So it was strange. It was like I needed this thing, I needed this treatment, but I didn't feel sick. So it was quite hard to get my head round. And then shortly after, they explained that I'd need a fistula put in, which is connecting the vein and the artery together in my arm as an access point. So I remember having that quite clearly and like having quite a sore arm afterwards. And yeah, just like anything, it becomes routine after a while. They found me a regular spot at Whipps Cross Hospital in London, and then I was doing 3 evenings a week, and it became like a kind of relaxing time in terms of you couldn't do anything else other than read or listen to music or watch TV shows. So it kind of gave me permission to do those things without feeling guilt or wasting time. Not that it is a waste of time, but you know what I mean? That space, I couldn't be running about doing anything else. So I had to do something to occupy myself.
And were you working at that time? Were you balancing work and dialysis?
I was quite fortunate to be self-employed back then. So I was doing freelance web design. So I could work my own hours. I wasn't earning loads, to be honest. I was earning enough to get by, but it definitely helped not having to go to work and deal with dialysis. I think that massively helped. And yeah, it gave me the flexibility to rest if I needed to, even though, like I said, I still didn't have any symptoms.
So for anyone listening, we work so hard to raise awareness of kidney disease. And a lot of times people will say, I feel fine. There's nothing wrong with me. It's not in my family. I've got nothing to worry about. What would you say to those individuals?
Well, I've been thinking about this a lot today. And especially if you're over 40, you can get free NHS health checks to check all of that stuff. But even if you're younger than that, you can still get checked out. Not to sound like it's a monetary thing, but I was thinking like it's obviously better to prevent kidney disease happening than the cost of dialysis is astronomical. We're very lucky to have it paid for by the NHS, but if you're in America or something, it would cost a lot more. But I would basically say just to get checked out, even if you don't have any symptoms, check your blood pressure. That's one of the main indicators. If it's gone up, then there's a higher risk of kidney disease. And then you can go and get a blood test for kidney function. And yeah, I'd recommend that anyone do that, especially if you've got high blood pressure.
So I know that you went on to have a kidney transplant. How did that come about?
So I was on the transplant list not long after I started dialysis. And then I was very fortunate. It was almost a year after I first started dialysis. I got a phone call. I think it was about 1 a.m, and I had no idea who it was at first. I didn't pick up at all I've always been quite a shy person. So if I don't know who's calling, I might not pick up the phone. So I was like, who's calling me at 1 a.m.? So I ignored it. And then they phoned my girlfriend, now wife, and they said, Stephen needs to come in. We've got a donated kidney for him and we're going to do the operation straight away. And I was so lucky that my mum was there as well, staying around after Christmas. So it was on the 20th of December. And yeah, we went straight into Royal London Hospital straight away and they did the operation like next morning. So I got there about 2 a.m, didn't really sleep, had the operation, and then that was all done. Just, it's probably a blessing that it happened so quickly because I didn't have that much time to think about it.
I mean, that's truly amazing. For those who don't know, the average wait time is 3 to 5 years for a kidney. So to get one within a year really is amazing. What difference did getting that kidney make to your life?
It was life-changing. It was, like I said before, it was strange because I didn't have symptoms, but it gave me my freedom back again. I didn't have to go on dialysis. Simple things like traveling. You can't, like previous times I've traveled to different dialysis units if I'm going different parts of the country. But if you want to go abroad, it's a lot more difficult. So it's nice having the freedom to go places, not have the restriction of spending 12 hours a week on dialysis. Yeah, it's life-changing, yeah.
So how long was your recovery? How long did it take you to get back to work following your kidney transplant?
Well, in hindsight, I started working again a bit too soon after. Started work again 2 weeks after the transplant. It should have been
2 weeks. 2 weeks?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I can't remember the recovery time, but it's at least 6 to 8 weeks or something. I can't remember. It's a lot longer than 2 weeks anyway. But because I was self-employed, I was just worried about money and stuff. And I didn't know there was any support. There are grants out there. You can contact Kidney Care UK. You can apply for government assistance and stuff like that. And I had no idea I was entitled to that. So it was okay because I was working at home. If I was working for someone, I wouldn't have gone straight back into the office. It was just sat on my laptop at home and I was feeling okay, well enough to do it. How old was I then? 28. So I was feeling pretty okay, a little bit sore still, but yeah, on the whole, pretty much recovered.
What you said about benefits, I think is really, really important that people know, especially people who are self-employed and every bit of their income is coming from their ability to work. So yes, just to reiterate, there is grants that are available from Kidney Care UK and there is government assistance. So please do contact Kidney Care UK for information in terms of what you're entitled to as a kidney patient. So I know that unfortunately you returned to having dialysis. How did this come about?
Yeah, so the second time round, it wasn't such a, I was going to say pleasant story. It was never a pleasant story, but I mean, I had I was physically sicker this time round and it was out of the blue again, but with symptoms. So I was keeping quite fit at the time. So I was doing Kung Fu. This was like 2020. Doing Kung Fu during lockdown on Zoom, funnily enough, keeping fit, like going out for walks and stuff. And then all of a sudden, I would feel out of breath. I would feel out of breath after 5 minutes walking, or if it was going uphill slightly, start feeling out of breath. And I was thinking, what's going on? And I can't be that unfit because I was doing exercise. So I went to the doctor and I was thinking, have I got asthma or something? I don't know if you can develop that or bad hay fever or something like that. But the doctor did tests on me and said everything's fine, thought nothing of it. And then just had to put up with this for a while and then started getting slowly worse as time progressed. And then I was still having, I think it's twice yearly checkups with my renal consultant just to check everything. So nothing was flagged my prior appointment, and then came up to this next appointment. They basically said that my kidney was failing. And it was a massive shock. I didn't know how long the transplant would last. I just assumed I wouldn't need another transplant. And I've spoken to other people and they kind of got the same idea that once you've got a transplant, you don't need to have another one, specifically kidney transplant. And yeah, I started getting really sick after that. I found it hard to eat. Like the taste of meat was quite disgusting. I later found out it was to do with my urea levels. It affected my taste buds and it put me off eating. And I got to the point where I couldn't eat hardly anything. The only thing I could stomach were biscuits, strangely, but I still couldn't eat loads. And I was trying to have these small calorific milkshakes that they try and give you if you're struggling to eat. I couldn't hold those down. I was bringing those back up again, and I was just getting really sick. And it got to the point where I was in bed for about 6 weeks. I could still go downstairs and just about have a shower, and sometimes my wife had to help me and stuff like that, but there's no way I could go outside and walk for 5 minutes. I was just so fatigued. And yeah, I went to my consultant on the next appointment, was probably a month after I started getting really sick. And I tried saying that I'm really sick, I need dialysis. And I don't know if I explained myself properly or whatnot, but I wasn't feeling great. And my consultant said, "You're not unwell enough to go on dialysis." And I was thinking, well, I've been in bed for about 6 weeks. I just want to reiterate that point, just to try and be clear and assertive if you're talking with consultants, and have notes with you if you need to. It's just, I think I was just so out of it that I probably didn't assert my point enough. But anyway, went along with it and muddled through the next couple of months. And yeah, it was just horrible, really. Had a chat with a psychologist from Oxford Hospital, and she really helped. It was nice having a chat with her and put things into perspective. And yeah, it was just a totally different time to the first time round. I got every symptom you could imagine and just really struggled through it.
I just find it shocking that your consultant totally dismissed what you were saying and said that you're not sick enough. I mean, how many people go to the consultant and ask for dialysis? Like, nobody asks for dialysis unless they're feeling ill. And I just think it's a disgrace that he didn't listen.
Thank you for saying that. I really struggled with that, and I did think of bringing it up again after that, but I don't know, it just didn't. I don't know what come up on his medical records. Maybe because I was looking at the stages of kidney failure, maybe I was bordering on stage 5 from 4, and then according to what he saw, I wasn't quite there yet, but I was feeling it. So I don't know. I try not to think about that too much, because it just want to make sure other people don't go through the same thing as I did.
Honestly, my heart goes out to you, and how difficult that must have been for you at that time, and even reflecting on it now. And so I've said so many times on the podcast, and it's for reasons like this, like what you're talking about right now, Steve, in terms of don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Don't be afraid to challenge doctors. When you're going through that sheer misery, all that sickness, all that suffering, and someone's telling you, oh, you're not sick enough, do not accept it. Don't feel afraid of being labelled a difficult patient, because the reality is I'd rather be a difficult patient getting the treatment I need than a compliant patient who's at home suffering. So this is the reason, and this example, Steve's example, is why I continuously say, don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Learn from Steve's experience, because we don't want anyone to go through this. We really don't.
Yeah, I don't want anyone to go through that as well. And it reminded me, during this second journey of sickness, I was given iron shots to help with the anemia. So I found out the breathlessness was from anemia. I forgot to say that. So that's why I was feeling so rubbish, because I wasn't getting any oxygen in my body. So they're giving me these iron infusions and stuff. But throughout those couple of months when I was getting the iron, I still wasn't feeling any better. And I knew something was wrong. And I kept saying I wasn't feeling well. But yeah, I didn't get the support I needed earlier on. But yeah, just don't want anyone else to go through that. Yeah, speak up for yourself. You're entitled to the help that you need.
So you eventually did start dialysis. So how did that come about?
So I went to my consultant in December 2021, and he basically said, from your recent blood test, I'm afraid you're going to have to go on dialysis. And I was like, well, I told you that 6 weeks ago in my head. Didn't say it out loud. And then, yeah, I think it was like on the 15th of December. Then he said, you can go in. I'm sure it was like the week later. Oh no, it was 16th of December 21 that I went in my first dialysis session. And it was, oh God, I didn't realize how ill I looked at the time, because I don't know. But looking back, there was a photo of me for their files, and my face was all bloated, like just looked really ill because I had loads of fluid in my body. But yeah, going to the first dialysis session was so different to the previous period. It was a massive relief. It was just so much needed, so overdue. It was exhausting. I was freezing. It was during COVID times. I had a mask on. I think they drained probably about 3 kilograms of fluid just on that day. And I remember I had to get the ambulance transport from Swindon to Oxford, and it's quite a long journey. It's about an hour, just over. Just coming back from that session, overwhelmed with relief, exhaustion, and I remember going in the door and seeing my wife there, and I just burst into tears, and we hugged, and I just had to go straight back to sleep after that. I was like absolutely wiped out. Yeah, it was so many different emotions because I needed it so badly, and I felt relieved, but also exhausted, tired, sad, slightly happy in terms of finally getting some help. Yeah.
What advice do you have for someone who is starting hemodialysis but has a really long journey to get there in terms of how to cope with that?
That's a good question. What come to mind was when I went on the ambulance, I had such a lovely woman who was there, who was going through treatment. We'll say her name because her name is her nature. She's called Marvelous. And she was just so joyful. And I remember she gave me a Christmas card, and she didn't know each other. She's just so lovely and really helped me through it. And I think try and be open to chatting with someone else on the journey. If you're getting shared transport, it's normally with someone else and they're going through the same thing, and try and strike up a conversation. You never know how much it will help them or help you. And yeah, we're still friends now. I think that is a big part of it. And sometimes you might not feel like talking. You might be exhausted after dialysis, and then that's okay. They'll understand if you just want to listen to music or go to sleep. But try and be mindful that there's other people there going through it, and connect with them. People in that situation need uplifting, no matter what else is going on in their life. You're all going through that same thing.
As I talked about earlier, I know that you're a creative, you love art, and you're a painter. So tell me about the connection between your painting and your chronic kidney disease.
Yeah, so the connection is quite strong, and it got me deeply into painting, actually. So I won't go into too much. I loved drawing as a kid, and then I didn't do it for years, and started again in 2019, just after reading a blog post that inspired me to give it a go again. And then when I started dialysis, it was January 2022, so I'd been doing it for a month, and I found out that they took off 30 kilograms of fluid, so that's 30 litres off my body. And I didn't notice because I was overweight before I got sick. I didn't eat properly for about 2 months, and the fluid stayed on my body, so it kind of balanced it out weirdly. I looked exactly the same apart from bloated face and everything. But once that was all drained off, I was like a new person and weighed so much less. I was just well enough to go down my art studio. So I got a studio like a year before that. And then I decided to paint about my chronic kidney failure. I don't know why. It just occurred to me that it'd be a good idea. So I started off. I had this photo of me on my first dialysis session when I said I was overwhelmed and everything. So I took a selfie. I had a hoodie on, my face mask and everything, and my eyes looked really sad, and I wanted to paint that. So I painted a 3-foot by 4-foot painting of that. And it was just so cathartic. It was like facing up to all those emotions. And it was weirdly like a mirror. So I was painting it, and then once it was complete, it was like literally and metaphorically a mirror. It was looking back at myself, but also looking back at all those emotions and processing all that. And it's just unbelievable and really satisfying, really cathartic, really enjoyable, really therapeutic as well. It was like getting all this stuff out. So then I painted another one after that. It was the same size, quite a big canvas. And it was a photo of me from my hospital bed. So you could just see my feet at the end of the bed, and then there's a nurse in the background and you can see a dialysis machine. So I painted that as well, and that was brilliant. It was just, and just to add, I didn't have any training in painting. The last time I did any painting was doing my art GMVQ at school. But I just enjoyed it. It was just a big release. And yeah, and then after that I decided to find different paintings that I could paint along the journey and along the theme of my journey of kidney failure. And then I had in the back of my mind that I wanted to set up an exhibition to express all of this and put it in one place. So I painted more. I set a date for this exhibition. So it was May, I remember the date, May 21st, 2022. So it's only 6 months after I started dialysis, and it gave me the drive to do these paintings. So I won't go into all of them because you can see them on my website afterwards, but I started going into more humorous ones. So I did one called Very Low Iron Man. So I painted a picture of me as Iron Man, and I called it Very Low Iron, Man. So it was taking the mickey out of my anemia that I had, in a kind of respectful, joking way, but it's also expressing my frustration with having anemia. But when people see it, it's creating awareness of it, but also bringing humour to it as well, which is quite powerful. So yeah, I did a whole series, and then it was just so amazing. I just recommend for anyone to express themselves creatively. It doesn't have to be painting. You can express it in any way you want, really.
Why do you think that expressing yourself creatively is so cathartic?
I think it's cathartic because it's beyond words, and it's physically getting something out of you onto whether it be paper or any other medium. And if you find it hard to articulate sometimes how you're feeling, like me, or for whatever reason you don't talk about it much, it's definitely a therapeutic way to get it out. And I think the whole visual combination, and also the fact that you can look back at it afterwards, is, like I said, is a mirror into your experience. And then you can share that with others in a different way. And it doesn't have to feel personal and vulnerable in terms of going into all the details. And you're just getting it out and expressing it without having to explain yourself.
I totally get that. As a creative myself, I love singing, I love writing poetry. It was during an interview, actually, one of the early interviews with Dr. Delroy Hall, and he was saying about writing a letter to my kidneys. And so I did that in the form of a poem, and I really did find that very cathartic. So I really do recommend that, as you said, whatever creative means it is, whether it's poetry, singing, painting, drawing, whatever means, acting, whatever means, do explore it and do share. So I know that you went on to have a second kidney transplant. How did that come about?
Yeah, so the story was very different the second time round. I was on the waiting list again, and basically my brother said he would go for a test to see if he's a match for me. And I didn't ask him, he just offered, and I was just so humbled by it. I didn't expect him to do it. Another option was my biological dad. He said he would do it, but he was living in Greece, so it would have been a bit more difficult. But anyway, my brother offered, and then I remember when he said, went round his house, he kept it a secret. He's a bit cheeky in a funny way. Like, I don't know how long it was, a couple of months. I went round his house for dinner, and he He goes, "Oh, I got surprised." He got the sheet out and he said, "Oh, I'm a match." He like sprung it on me out of the blue, and I was just so moved. And he was, oh, God, I can't express how grateful I am.
So how was the process of having a kidney from a living donor? Because we're told that living donation is the gold standard of kidneys. So was there a difference between the kidney you received from your brother and the kidney that you received before?
Well, because it's a biological match, it is more, I want to say secure. It's more, put it this way, it's less susceptible to rejection because it's from a living person, so it's passed over rather than a deceased person, and it's has to be kept cold and everything and passed over to you. So it's very different. The experience wasn't that much different, and it was good that I knew what to expect from a transplant because I had one already. I wasn't really nervous at all. I was obviously a bit nervous because it's a big operation, but I was a lot more prepared for it. And I remember waking up after the transplant, and my brother obviously went in first because he had to take his kidney out, and then I had mine done. It was quite soon after, actually. And then I come round and I saw him opposite me, and I was all drowsy, and I wanted to say thank you to him, kind of mumbled it to him because I was really out of it still. But I was just staring at him full of love and like just in awe, really, that he did that for me. And another thing I didn't realise before is when they do the operation, they don't take out your existing kidneys. They put new kidneys in your abdomen, basically. So I've got 4 kidneys now, and the recent donated one is doing all the work, basically.
So what difference did receiving this kidney make to your life?
It was much more of a drastic improvement this time round because I got so sick. And being able to go to the toilet again, something we all take for granted, obviously, but when you have kidney failure, you don't pass urine very often or even at all. So those kind of little things were amazing. Being able to travel again, getting back to normal health. And this time around, I had so grateful that I was employed by someone, so I had paid time off to recover. And I didn't rush or anything. I can't remember how long it was, but it's certainly more than 2 weeks. It was at least a couple of months, and then had a phased return back to work, doing a couple of days a week, and then it was much better recovery. I also found it took longer to recover because I'm older now, and I didn't bounce back as quickly, but it was still pretty quick.
So I know that you went on to have your fistula removed. Could you tell us why you decided to make that decision?
Well, it was quite painful. It wasn't massively painful, but it just ached constantly, and I felt like it was the right time to remove it. And I'm hoping with advances in medical technology and medications and whatnot that this kidney donation will last me the rest of my life. Yeah, just need to be extra careful to look after myself on top of that. And I would like to avoid, obviously, having another transplant. And if I can do my best to give it the best chance, yeah. So I've heard of people having transplants and it has lasted like 40 years or longer. So it's just, I can control what I can control in terms of my lifestyle. And I just got to do my best to look after myself.
And we're all rooting for you that you have continued good health and that kidney lasts forever.
Thank you so much.
I know that you've continued with your art and actually paid it forward in terms of raising money for charity. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So Kidney Care UK have been a great help to me. Like I was saying before about the grants and stuff, I got some support, a grant from them when the energy prices went crazy, and it was a bit of a struggle then. So I'm so grateful for that. Yeah, so I wanted to pay it back to Kidney Care UK, and then this exhibition that I mentioned that I created these paintings for, I gave all of the ticket sales to Kidney Care UK, and half of the sales of my artwork. So I set up this exhibition, and there's a really nice atmosphere. About 80 people turned up. It was at where my studio is. There's a little art gallery in there. Had a great time, and then I think I raised over £500 for Kidney Care UK, and that was a really nice way of paying it back, and also highlighting what I went through, and people seeing my work, and kind of, it's almost like a visual diary of what I went through.
So I know you continue to do your art as well as having a day job. How is balancing the two?
It's quite difficult time-wise, because I've got the 40 hours at work, and then on top of commuting and all that, but I try and find the time where I can to still go to my studio, because it's a very kind of therapeutic thing to do. And also I am pursuing it as a career. I'm just trying to find ways to sell my art and replace the income from the job in whatever way that looks. But I've also looked at working at home a couple of days, because I know a lot of companies now allow flexible working, but our company is not one of those. So I've been trying to request to work at home a couple of days. But I don't know if it's my lack of assertiveness on top of a lot of red tape around doing that. Even though I'm well and everything, I do get tired now and again. And it's been advised that I can work at home a couple of days, but there's so much kind of red tape that's stopping me from applying for that, and it's kind of putting me off as well. So I need to take my own advice that I said before and be a bit more assertive in that, because my company and a lot of companies allow you to request flexible working if it supports your health needs or any kind of parental needs or whatnot. So yeah, I need to walk my talk on that and pursue that myself. And I would recommend anyone who needs that support to do the same.
I think you've raised a really important point here, and I would encourage everybody to check out the episode with Dr. Jackie, where we talk about occupational health. Do get a referral to occupational health. They will support you. There are laws in place to protect you as a kidney patient. And that applies to transplant recipients as well, because you're still legally, under the law, you are a kidney patient. So please do check out that episode. And of course, Kidney Care UK, do contact them for support. They do support kidney patients in circumstances like this to ensure that you get your rights protected under the law. So do check that episode out and do contact Kidney Care UK. So I know that you're active on social media. What are your handles for people to follow you?
So the main ones I use, so my Instagram, I'm fairly active on that. So it's my artist name, SLART. So it's SLART.me, M-E. And then I've got a Substack account, which is slart.substack.com. So what I do on that is share my weekly art practice. So I share what I've been up to and pursuing my art and everything, and give a weekly update. And I also interview other artists. I ask them 3 questions every week, and they share their advice to encourage other people to be creative, because I think being creative or being an artist in any kind of form is often seen as a hobby and not taken seriously, which is a shame because it's so powerful and people should be encouraged. But yeah, going off on a tangent a bit, but passionate about encouraging other people to be creative, because I was pretty much discouraged by my art teacher, and that's why I didn't really do anything for many years. So yeah, and I've also got an exhibition in London this September. So the opening night is 6th of September. It's on until the 18th September. So basically, it's another Kidney Care UK fundraiser. It's all donations, and a percentage of my artwork will go to Kidney Care UK. And the idea behind it, it's at the Crypt Gallery in Euston. So it's below a church, and it's in a crypt which is turned into a gallery. And I wanted to create a contemplative space for people to come in. Whether you're into art or not, it's going to be quite a down-to-earth exhibition. So I'm putting all of my kidney-related pieces in there, and I've got new pieces which reflect on life and death and humour, so we can focus on living our best lives, really. So it's called Memento Vivere, which means remember to live in Latin. I like using Latin phrases. They sound a lot more romantic than English. So yeah, I've got that coming up, and I'd love to see you there. Come along to the opening night on the Saturday. So thank you.
Absolutely. And as always, I will put the links to Steve's social media and also the information for his exhibition in the description box. So please do support. Please do go along and check out his art. It's for a wonderful reason. So please do support. So today, Steve, you've shared your Kidney Warrior story. You've shared about going into kidney failure, starting dialysis, receiving your first kidney transplant and the failure of that transplant, going on to have your second kidney transplant from your brother, and then using art as a cathartic expression of your journey, and also to raise awareness and help others, and also to raise money for Kidney Care UK charity. What is your final word of encouragement for the listeners?
I think just to say that you're not alone in whatever you're experiencing, whether it be chronic illness or any kind of human plight, really. It's like there's always someone out there, and you need to be open to reach out and express yourself and discuss these things with people, because you're not alone as much as you feel that you are. I just want to add to that, express yourself in art, give it a go as well.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you so much for all the advice and for being so open in sharing things that I know is not easy to share. Thank you so much for sharing your art with the world, raising awareness of this disease, and also for raising money for such a worthy charity, Kidney Care UK. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, dear. It's been a real pleasure. It's actually been really therapeutic for me, like going through it again, and yeah, it's really helped, and I hope my story helps other people as well.
Thank you for listening to Diary of a Kidney Warrior podcast. I truly appreciate your support. New episodes of this podcast are released every other Monday, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And if you found this episode helpful, why not share it with someone who might benefit too? To stay up to date with the latest episodes, news and resources, sign up for the email mailing list and join the WhatsApp channel. All the details are in the episode description. Until next time, take care and choose to live.